Yes. Good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. It's PL Stewart. I'm back on Six Elementals interviews. And thank you for watching as always. And this afternoon for me, I have one of my favorite people in the space, such a dynamic, incredible creator. You watch his videos, it's like watching a movie. It's like watching a cinematic movie. You're just going to be just amazed. But this is the thing, it's not just flashy content. It is deep. The philosophical element to his stuff really has me stunned sometimes. And I find myself rewatching his videos, and some of the questions he asks are going to strike at the heart of your soul. And you're going to be like, you're going to be pondering these questions that he poses in his videos for a long time. Great discussion fodder that you and your peeps that enjoy literature, that enjoy fantasy and sci-fi and horror, you watch Epic's videos and you'll find yourself discussing the topics that he raises. So thank you so much, Epic, for joining me. How are you, my friend?
So first of all, thank you for such a descriptive, such a wonderful, such a good intro for me. I'm just like humbled by it. Thank you so much for that. I need to hear it a few times. I'll just play it back and just listen to it to remind myself of, why I do what I do. But yeah, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm just looking forward to having this conversation with you. It's been a while since we spoke, so I'm very, very excited for you for this.
You can't be more excited than me, my friend. I've been so anxious to have you on. Apologies, it's been so long, but yeah, I just want the honor of just chatting with you and learning from you and learning from your insights. But I have to say, man, like, listen, booktube. There's tons of booktubers out there, tons of amazing booktubers out there, but you are one of them, and you do something really, really, really unique. You, first of all, there, and I should backtrack here. There's a lot of things you do that are really, really unique, but you map out storyboards for books, some of the very popular, well-known books, but you don't just take a chapter or a passage or and then just verbatim. Just no, you'll interpret it, and it's almost as if you'll reinterpret it, but the way you do it, man, wow, it's just phenomenal to the point where an author will go, maybe an author might go, well, that's an improvement on what I wrote. So, and I've been humbled to have you, do that for some of my work. And like I said, it's just so spectacular, so cinematic. What made you decide to do that with books?
So, it's so I read this book. It's a nonfiction book. It's called like The War on Art, and that it helped me understand something about books when you read them, especially fiction. It's that as a writer, when you write a book and you put it out there and people experience it, it's no longer yours. It belongs to everybody who experiences it because they are imagining it maybe a little bit differently. They are, it's their context to life makes them interpret, like it channels what they notice in the book versus what they don't notice, what means something to them versus what doesn't mean anything to them. So it's when I read a book that appeals to me on different levels, like it appeals to me, say, on an emotional level. It makes me ask questions that maybe might inspire another character analysis on my channel. And I really want to show appreciation to the writer, and also communicate how the book made me feel. And just, if I'm usually reviewing a book, it's because I like it and I want to share that experience with people. So I try to, of course, with the help of my artist. So I cannot take full credit. I do use AI for the background, but the characters themselves are from one of my friends. Is an artist. He calls himself Dregnov on Twitter. But basically, the both of us go back and forth, and then He does some interpretation by himself. I do my own interpretation. We find a good balance, and then we make it work. So yeah, it's just something I love to do.
Well, I can tell you, man, they are absolutely stunning. As I said, I was so blown away by the ones that I've seen you do, including for my book. Um, when you're doing something like that, are there specific elements that you're looking for that you want to capture in? So the author writes something one way, and you still capture the essence so brilliantly, but then you put your own spin on it. Is there something that you look for that you're looking to capture, that why you layer this other interpretation on the work?
So there are a couple of things. There are a couple of variables that basically like keeps me constrained, and I'll say keeps me honest. And I'll say one of them is first of all, it's like I'm not telling the story in necessarily the sequence of the book. It's like, okay, like a story has like different threads, right? There are different threads that happen, and they can happen over like several chapters, right? So I pick a thread, and then I try and piece it up together and make it make sense. So within that scope of, I call them trailers. Like, I don't know what they are, but like I'm still trying to tell a story there, while also not giving away so much that it spoils the story for the viewers and everything. So, and then that I have so much restraining me, because, and like having all those restraints but still trying to express the idea, tell a story, make it like give just enough where it's not like an overt spoiler, because in its nature it is a spoiler, but it's not an overt spoiler, but people can pick up something and want to understand, want to get more, want to become more thirsty to like read the book. Is what are the things that usually drive how I put things together. So um it's yeah, sometimes I've done it better than I've done others before, but the more I do it, the better I become. So yeah, I don't know if
What,
that answers the question.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And what I see from your content, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I see a lot of stuff that is, for example, with the storyboard, what I see is generally thematic stuff,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
it character analysis. So like
yeah.
looking at characters and what they mean to literature, what they mean to story, what they mean to the genre, subgenre. So can you tell us about what you do, what you try to accomplish with the thematic stuff versus what you try to do with the character analysis videos?
So with the character analysis, those ones it's okay. So it's I recently did one, for instance, on Smeagol, which I really, really enjoy, because that's like, if you ask a lot of people, well, like, what got you to fantasy, is Lord of the Rings, and Smeagol played a big role in creating that. Um, I try to find, so first of all, I have to pick an interesting character from a book that I find interesting, and then I try to look at the things that define a character. Smeagol, for instance, is a character that has very um people always feel very a lot of emotions when it comes to him. There's pity, there's also like disgust, there's also like, revulsion, there's like, annoying, there's like tragedy. So he's an interesting character, and you know taking like the themes in the story that shaped who he is, and talking about it from a perspective, like I don't always expect that people would agree with my perspective on the character. Some people have like really hard opinions and everything, but it's to tell a story. And then I'm also like practicing with that. I'm also practicing my writing and my ability to for prose. So I try to like make it elaborate and use metaphors, and talk about it almost like I'm singing. But prose is very interesting when it comes to writing. I'm still trying to find my voice and do so. It's also like practice for me. I've written a few, but like, it's like I'm constantly working on it. So when I do that, and then I try to, put things together, like when it comes to like themes, and when it comes to like themes in the book and my interpretation of it. So I always love in the comment section where people disagree with me, and then you see a thread where we're just going back and forth for a while, and then we reach a point where like we agree to disagree, or I fully disagree to agree with you, or like. But the point is that it's like I have all these thoughts about a character. I make, it's not always like, it's not, I don't know if that was Tolkien's intention when he was writing the character, but this is my experience as a reader. And then from there, have people have opinions about my own thing. It's always a really fun experience.
Wow, yeah, that Anism, and like I said, they are just so some of the best stuff I've seen anywhere. Seriously, I have to give props on BookTube. But in saying that, though, when I think about you, Epic, when I think about you as a booktuber and how compelling and why you and your personality and your stuff is compelling, let me give you a clear example of what when I think of you, what I think of. I think of this author.
Ah, the darkness that comes
I think
before.
of this author, and let me explain myself. This author is, I think, a favorite of both you and I,
Yeah.
and one of the most compelling authors that I've ever read. And I think I've read a lot of great authors. The same way I think I've watched a lot of great booktubers, you being one of them. But when I think about you, it's all about, frankly, and I could be wrong, and you correct me because you're the creator. I think about the way you explore the darkness.
Oof.
That is, if I'm going to pull on a thread about Epic and say, when I tell people, I remember I was talking to a friend about you and they watched your video. It's like, man, this is amazing, but this is dark as oh hell. I'm like watching. I'm like, bro. I'm like, keep watching, keep watching, keep watching. You'll see. Watch this one. Watch this one. It's like, oh man, it's amazing, but it's so dark. I'm like, there's part of us, I think, that is drawn to the darkness that you explore in your videos, the darkness authors like this. So I have a question. So I have some questions for you based on that. First of all, am I correct? Am I correct that you find something about the darkness that draws you in and makes you want to talk about it extremely eloquently? But is that correct?
So yes, that is very correct. But like, as I'm learning more and more about myself, I'm coming to accept and understand that it's not arbitrary. It's not very arbitrary. It's not an arbitrary choice. It's not like an intentional choice where it's like, okay, I'm going to this is what I'm going to do. It's it's how I understand something about people, and just from my own experience in general, is that people learn about themselves, people grow, people reinvent themselves on how they interact in the world after they experience pain and suffering. So it's something that we are, as human beings, we're generally adverse to, but it's something that we are going to have to experience whether we like it or not. So there's a Stoic philosophy where it says something about do not run the perfect place to be. Do not run towards pleasure. Do not run away from pain. Like, if you live like that, then like you're living in the middle enough to fully experience life, um without going too far into the extremes. But I from my experience and what I've seen from people, and my just like experience generally, people are generally running away from something. And it could be because of, say, past trauma, it could be because of experiences, something they've learned and everything. But Epic Tales is a place where, you know, I want I'm exploring those themes, and I'm exploring that darkness, in ways that is accessible, so that people can exploit part of their lives that is necessary, that is inevitable, but at the same time, have a good time doing it. So you talk about like, I don't, if in my book, I don't, in my, not my book, and in my booktube channel, when you hear me talking about characters, or you hear me talking about a book, or you hear me talking about a writer, I'm never passing moral judgment. I'm always like, I'll talk about Sauron. You think like, oh shit, like, I can talk about Smeagol, like, and make you feel bad for hating him. Or I can talk about, Sandan Gloctor, and it's like, okay, um these are the circumstances that made him who he was. What would you have done in that situation? The same questions that I like to ask myself in my books is the same questions I want people to ask themselves when they watch my thing. So it's not that my affinity or my gravitation towards dark concepts is I'm coming to, as I'm learning more and more about myself. It's not an arbitrary thing.
No, that's an exceptional answer. But I guess to put you on the spot, Epic, as I said, I find your content is addictive. And obviously it's because you do it so well, it's so cinematic, you're so articulate, like I said. But it's also because I believe that inside of myself, like I believe in everybody else, there is an element that is perhaps drawn to that darkness. And I mean, if again, we go back to an author like this, he may not be telling us. I think he still very much see for yourself, for example, with Backer, but someone argued that he's a nihilist, right?
Yeah.
That there is no hope, there is no free will. You are doomed and trapped in your fate, right? Um, what do you believe about that, and what do you believe that authors like Backer are trying to tell us? And what have you learned from reading those kind of authors and then putting that content out about the darkness?
So, and this is something in general, like, people usually associate like grim dark, and I'll say dark fantasy, or like just dark literature in general. Like, I'm thinking of Blood Meridian right now as well, as something that is nihilistic. So nihilism. I'm not a nihilist, by the way. I'm not a nihilist. Like, I've read a bunch of philosophies here and there, and then I treat them like in a very abstract way, and it's like when I'm reading something, I'm like, okay, well, this is where this idea is coming from. That is where idea is coming from, and I'm picking and choosing what works for me, like in terms of what my experience is of truth, right? So, um it's like, when these books, right, and especially with Baker, is that when he's presenting these scenarios, um he's presenting reality, um without any filters,
Yes,
right? So there's a part of it that it, of course, it's, the way he writes, and this thing is, it's elaborate, and there's magic, and there's these factors that are not quite like, not quite, you know don't quite obey the laws of physics, or and everything. But beneath it is is the underlying truth of human nature, right? If you read a lot of history, you read a lot of, philosophy, and you look at historical figures over time, like, these characters are based off like real people sometimes. Like, I don't know if you can draw parallels, and this is something that he mentioned before, but Kelos, the main character of the darkness that comes before, was inspired, a lot by the Bible, a lot by like, the Crusades, and a lot by, it was also inspired by Dune, Paul Atreides. I don't know if, for me, the comparison is so clear, but the point being that, like, he's the the characters, the themes, and the things that are being explored in the book is based on underlying truths. And when you bring out truth like that, it happens to be dark, you know. And just like for a little bit of a perspective is, when anytime in a book like this, anytime hope or anytime something positive is presented, because it's in such a dark environment, you can really feel the essence of it. You can really feel the essence of it. Like if somebody does it, it's like we live our daily life. Someone opens the door for you, you keep on moving, like you don't think about it. Like, someone says something nice to you, like, you don't think about you say something nice to someone, it's just something like that. But when you're in these books and everything is just messed up, anytime a character does something good, along with asking yourself, was that a stupid decision, you're like, that was really, really nice. So because it's like I wasn't expecting that. So you get to feel the essence of good, because the environment is so dark. So and it's those things that I latch onto, and I really I enjoy experiencing, especially when I'm reading books like that. So there's nihilism there, but it's not, the nihilism is just like the environment, but like the little things that happen along the way as well. Which is another reason why the doctors comes before. It's so interesting to me, because Baker finds the way to twist that, you know. So it's just, yeah, it's a yeah, very crazy experience. So first of all, I just like to say, you ask very good questions that I start talking and then I forget the question and I just go on a tangent. But yeah, I'm just having fun. I'm
No,
sorry.
not at all. You're definitely answering really exceptionally, and I think, like, me, I write what other people have coined. Sorry, is moral grimdark, right? And there's, I believe that like there's many sub genres within grimdark. Psychological grimdark, and then there's what I think people think of grimdark as, like, with like this gritty world where like everything's falling apart, and you go to a tavern, and like I think Mark R. Fletcher, who is one of the best grimdark authors out there, he wrote a treatise on this, describing, based on, like, if you're at this inn where everything's perfect and, like, everybody looks great and everything, then, like, that's like high fantasy. Then if there's a little, you go to the bar and it's a little bit tarnished and things are chipping or whatever, that's epic. And then if you go there and, like, it's just like all mud, and the beer is slop and nobody's attracted, everybody has scars, like, that's like grimdark, right? Like, to that effect. I'm not saying it exactly as he said it, but he did an excellent job of breaking it down. But I think, as a booktuber and as someone who puts out this content that people love and people eat up, what do you think about the grimdark elements and the grimdark the darkness that you explore? What do you think draws people in? Like, what draws us in?
It's just like the relentless nature of this. And sorry, just because you mentioned Michael Fletcher, I just remember, like, I was reading a book, and like when you're reading, I was reading one of his book, Blackstone Heart, and it's a book that, like, I've spoken about before. But basically, I think with the main character goes into a tavern, and he describes everything, and it's just like pathetic. And I'm reading it and I'm just like scrunching my face, like, this place is disgusting. And then, just to add, just like he mentions how, like, there's stagnant water in the tavern and a dead rat is just floating, and it makes me smile, because I'm like, okay, from a writing perspective, that was not necessary, but like an image of like a dead rat is in my head every time I think about, like, it's just like the little things he does here. And Michael Fletcher, I love his books, by the way.
Oh yeah,
What draws us in? What draws us in? I feel like so let me speak for myself. So there's an element of when people pick up fantasy, or when people pick up fantasy, there's always like there's an element of people are going to it for escapism. Um, for me, it's so I live by myself. And then I experience like a routine every day to like keep things going, to keep food in the fridge and everything. I have a job, I have family, like those problems, everything is kind of like those dramas, everything is kind of constant, right? When I go for a while without reading a grimdark book, it's like it's almost like a call to that truth that I was mentioning earlier. I was trying to describe earlier. It's kind of like it becomes like an itch, and it's like when I read characters that are going through a difficult time and are reacting or are experiencing that difficult world in a way that I can relate to. So it's like I don't live in a magic fantasy world, but when you read a character like Michael Fletcher, or even your book as well, like with Ortho, sometimes it's like you put yourself in a position where you're in these characters' heads and you're watching them make decisions, but the emotional exploration on how they are experiencing the darkness and the difficulty and the pain and the suffering, that in and of itself is very relatable. It's very you can relate with it, and you're seeing how they are dealing with it, and you're seeing the consequences. So it helps me um frame my own life. And then when I stop reading it and I get back into reality, it's like it's all of a sudden everything I'm doing just feels a little bit easier. So for me, I don't know if it really answers your question, but for me it starts with an itch. It starts with an itch. It starts, and then of course enjoying these characters, watching them make decisions, like agreeing with some decisions, disagreeing with this with some it helps me live outside of my myopic like my myopic existence, and then I can learn something. I can start exploring new ideas in my head. I could get inspired for a video. Like it gives me a zest for life that I don't I'm not getting from my mundane day-to-day activities and everything. So, but I'm
No,
speaking from myself, yeah.
I totally get it. And sometimes for me, a lot of it, sometimes it makes me appreciate how good I have it when you get, we human beings, we love to complain, we love to down ourselves. But and I think I'm generally a positive person like you, but those moments when you get down yourself, I remind myself, wait a minute, but what about what that character went through, or what that person went through, or what, and it does definitely that contrast to your own life when you realize, oh, things aren't so bad, like what about this, right? And but I want to go on, but I have to put up our mutual friend, yours and mine.
Hey,
Hey, Alicia. What's up,
Alicia.
girl? We miss
Alicia
you.
is Alicia is my homie, man. I love you so much. Man.
Yeah, yeah.
We need to, like, when is the Drown Kingdom? When is the next one coming up? When's the next book coming up?
It's gonna be released hopefully in a month or so. So,
Oh, okay.
I think I sent you an arc, didn't I? An uncorrected arc, didn't I? I think I
I,
did.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for background, for those of you who are aware, the wonderful Alicia from Brilliant Book, another awesome book tour. Check out her stuff. She's fantastic, especially stuff if you like the Jane Austen stuff and the research. She's an expert in that area. She posts great content. So I'm so humbled that she has been hosting deep dives into my series along with Epic and Jen. So the four of us have been, I'm so privileged that they've been willing to, dive into my series, and I think there's some great discussions there about, like especially when we get into thematic stuff and we all, provide our ideas about certain things. I just think those are some amazing discussions. So if as you read each book, there's a discussion with the four of us in each book. So if you don't want to be spoiled, wait to read the book, and then you want to get some deeper insights into what's going on, and here's some really good analysis from Epic and Jen and Alicia, then check that out. And she says, oh, I love you too. Yeah.
When you just finish reading a book and you've had a good time reading it and you want to talk to someone about it, like if you have that feeling after reading PL's book, then hop on that, and you hear us like talk about everything, make predictions, and like just totally nerd out about parts we loved, parts that made us ask questions, and yeah, like really really excited for the next book.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. Let's put it this way. I'm not trying to get, but it is a sharp left, hard turn that I think
I know. I was just about to say that. I was just about to say that. Like,
gonna shake you up. Gonna shake you up for a while,
uh-huh.
and you'll see. You'll see. You'll see. But any case, I think Epic that when it comes to, like, for example, when I read this book, there's some parts that were actually horrible, just horrible. And I was
Yeah.
like depraved, right? And I'm just like, how am I reading this? And I just can't stop reading it. And my one part brain is saying, this is depravity. This is like, this is horrific. This is like the worst of humankind. And like, what am I doing? But I couldn't stop reading it, right?
Yeah.
And I started thinking for me about my career, especially, with law enforcement and stuff and the things that I've seen and the things you have to deal with. And I think you cope with certain things you see on different levels, whether it's compartmentalizing things or just, but you keep going, right?
Yeah.
And you realize just life is just life. You know what I mean? The good, like you said, the good and the bad. And, you start to maybe cling more to the good and hold on because, like, thank God it's not me, or whatever is going through your head, right? To rationalize, or how can I help, or how can I make this better? How can I make this person's situation better in my small way, right? Like, I think it's, but something again, when it comes to the darkness, right? It's what you delve into, deeply. But when it comes to that darkness, is it the darkness of the world that is depicted, or is it the darkness of the characters that you think draws you in?
So, it goes to like it's a combination of both, right? Like I look at the characters as adapting to the world that they are in. Now it's like there are characters that take a hard moral stance, like against, like they take a hard moral stance, and there are characters that are like, okay, I'm just going to do what I can to survive through this. There are characters that are like self-sacrificing, and within all of these characters you find different variations and different pieces of yourself, right? So for every character is giving you something a little bit different in the world. So the characters, the world, the world in and of itself is a messed up place, but the characters and how they adapt to it is also very important, because the decisions you make, they make you, some of them frustrate you, some of them make you feel excited, some of them you didn't even think about, some of them you're like, that is a decision I think I would make. And you understand yourself a little bit more because um generally when you're in this book, you're when you're in these books, you're in that space, you're in that part of your mind that is the least explored. So you're just um if someone just listens to me and say, well, I read grimdark books to learn more about myself, it's like, that's like, oh, you must be a terrible person then. But it's like the small moments where these people are human. It's the small moments where these people make decisions they are not proud of, but you know that you probably make the same decision. So it's kind of like it's that moment where you're cheering a character that has been despicable for 15 chapters, but all of a sudden they've made a decision, and it's just like, you know what, I think I like this guy. you know I think I like this guy. Or when you understand where they are coming from, or you understand where they are coming from so much that you can't help but root for them, because of the environment they are. So yeah, like, and I wouldn't necessarily call that completely escapism, because there's a reality you're facing when you're reading these books. But yeah, yeah.
Wow. Well, I know, and I'm going to loop back to that later. But let's put something really important up on the screen, and I hope we're not spilling the beans too much here. But as before, I think your content is incredible, and you're so articulate, and your insights. So I always knew from day one, and I think I'd even asked you way back, like, "Oh man, Epic, you're going to write a book? I know it'd be so amazing." But it's like, yeah, maybe one day. But is there anything you can share about whether or not you think you might write a book someday? Like, would it be something grimdarky or not? Like, is there anything you can spill
So
about that?
I've been writing a book for a very long time, called Cradle of Chaos. I've been writing this book. Last year I thought I'd be done, but rewriting chapters I wrote like 3 4 years ago, and I'm getting better ideas. And for me, it's very frustrating because I want to put something out there as soon as possible, but the depth of it. I'm just like so much more informed that sometimes I'm rewriting whole chapters. I do not know when I'm going to be done, but when it does come out, to be the best I could make of it. And I'm going it keeps developing, and I get excited about it like every day. Like last night I was writing something, and that I found so freaking cool. I hope people do as well. And while I'm working, while I dream about it when I'm sleeping, like when I'm working adjacent, I'm thinking about it when I'm eating, when I'm having conversations, and my mind drifts. Like I'm thinking about my book and how to make something work plot wise or character wise. So yeah, to be yeah, like it's going to be everything I can make it. And yeah, I'm super excited.
Well, when it only come out when it's ready, when all that home cooking is done, I
Yeah.
have no doubt it's going to be spectacular. Just from what I know of you, as I said, I'm still like Alicia. I'm so excited to read it. I know you can't give us much hints about it, but I'm going to guess at least if you're able to tell us by the title. I'm guessing that it is also grim dark. Ooh, oh, that's a little tidbit. So Alicia's doing some editing, eh?
I've already spoken to her about it. I haven't spoken, and this is part of the pressure. I'm like, I can't disappoint her with my writing, so I need to make it as clean as possible. But yeah, like I'm super excited. Like I've already spoken to her about it, and yeah, like I would love her to play a role, because she knows what I like. We've done a bunch of deep dives on discussions on grimdark and epic fantasy and different books as well. So and every time she gives a recommendation, I'm like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. So like I'll be honored if she can play a part in getting my book out there.
Oh, what an awesome collab that will be having her as your editor, because she is so smart, and she's awesome. She knows so much about books and literature. So yeah, I think it would be awesome to see you guys team up for her to help bring your what I'm sure is going to be amazing work to life. So yeah, so quickly back to the original question. You can give it a little bit away, just at least that. Is it going to be dark fantasy slash grimdark? I'm assuming by the title, yes. Like,
Definitely.
all right.
And huge inspirations from Baker, from Michael Fletcher. Michael Fletcher is from on a story level, just like pure storytelling. Oh my god, like I don't it doesn't like everyone I'm reading Michael Fletcher, I feel like a child. I feel like a baby, just like so I yeah, like I'm really excited to put it out there.
Well, I am through the moon, excited to read it. I cannot wait. I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, and I'm sure I'm going to be one of your biggest fans when you write. I'm going to be like, oh, eating this up, and I'm just so excited that someone like you, with talents you have, is gonna put finger to keyboard, and eventually will be treated by something by the awesome Epic Tales. That is exciting. Um, so tell us, what how did you get started in the whole booktube scene? How did that come about?
So like a lot of booktubers, I was inspired by Daniel Green. I didn't even know that booktube was a thing. I used to watch, like, randomly watch his book reviews and decide on, oh, what am I going to read. And I think, like, he recommended like The First Law, and I was just watching him doing his thing, and then he came up with Breach of Peace. And when he came up with Breach of Peace, I was just watching how much support he got as a writer, just that initial boost that helped him out as a writer. And before, I was just looking at myself as a pure writer, and I liked the fact and just what he did with that. I liked how he was able to come out and have like that much support, and just like I was watching him when, I don't know if he was using a phone camera for his videos or something, but watching him from when his videos were absolutely nothing. I'm seeing how well, not nothing, but like it wasn't like what it is today. And like how his understanding of literature evolved as he was reading books that he liked, and everything. And I was like, you know what, as kind of a journey to help myself as a writer, to build an audience for my book, to basically get myself involved with that community, because before him I didn't know anyone in the community at all. And then when I started, I was like, okay, this thing he does, because he did a few tags here and there. And then I started getting to know Captured in Words, Jay from Captured in Words. Then like from there, I love, if you love epic tales, you're going to love Jay. I started like, branching here and there, and I was like, this is a whole community. And then I met amazing people like Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads, Drew's from Drew's Book Reviews, and just like a bunch of, and came into it so welcome, started like interacting, networking, meeting new people. And my knowledge and like my understanding of writing and stories, and there are books I would have never read that I love so much today, that I would have never read if I was not like in some way, it just part of the community in some way. So booktube has really, really, and the people I've met in booktube have really, really helped me develop myself as a reader and a writer. So it's not I'm not as active as I used to be anymore, but it's still a very important part of life, and one that I am I'm as involved in as I can be at every moment.
Yeah, and we're so glad that you are. We're so lucky to have you as part of that community. And and I have to thank you personally for all you've done to support and promote my work, personally, Epic. Like, I'm just so blessed and humbled that you would do that. So I'm just so appreciative. So I just want to make sure that I thank you for that. And yeah, check out Epic's storyboard on my series he delved into as well. Often as a character, I believe he puts Epic has a list of some introductory books for Grimdark that you may want to get into. And I'm so special that I'm on the list there with the John King.
I will say something. So there are a lot of books I've read, and then but when I do like a top 5, or I do like one of those things, those are like the books that like meant the most to me. I don't do like character analysis or like comic motion trailers for like any book. So it's all the promotion I've done for your work is because like your work has meant something to me a lot. Eventually I would like to do a character analysis on Orthun. The one thing with Orthun is that every book is a little bit different, and I don't know exactly where he's going to end up. So maybe I'll wait until the book is over first before, because I could have never seen him going in the direction that he's gone in. That's something I'm looking forward to doing. And just in general, like if anyone has been following my channel for like a while, it's like I think I don't think I have ever done, I'll say, but let me not say that. Let me say 85% of the books that I talk about. I don't always talk about like the books that are popular out there. I do a lot of stuff for like the indie authors and everything, because I recognize that there's so much talent there, and just get like, it's like they're just books that you know you really need to like, you like. So I feel like if you're a reader, you get to a point where you've read so many books, and then it's just like you get some burnout, and you're just like, maybe I'm kind of done with this for a while and everything. But indie books like have always been able to reinvigorate. It's like, oh, this is something different, this is a different angle. Like, I can tell why they didn't want this, why this book might have been difficult to publish, or like, this is different, so if any opportunity I get to gush or talk about it, and put someone in a position where they can have new readers, and push sales, marketing, a little bit, to the fullest of my capacity, it's always something that I welcome on my end. And yeah, like, yeah, it's honestly a privilege.
Well, thank you so much for doing that, Epic, for myself and all, especially all the indie authors out there. It makes such a difference. I just can't tell you how much of a difference it makes. Like, any exposure for an indie author, whether you're someone who only a few people know who you are, or whether you're already popular, like the Michael R. Fletcher, it all really helps, right? Push the needle and rise all of our boats up to awareness, right? So thank you for that, and thank you for what you do. And again, thank you so much for what you've done for my series. I think I don't want to shot call here, but I think this next book that is made for you, I think I think this is a book that, especially when it comes to the darkness, I think you're going to enjoy those aspects. I think you're going to enjoy those aspects of the darkness and seeing the darkness up close and what it looks like. So hopefully you enjoy that whenever you get to
it. With every book you've said that you've delivered, so I have no doubt.
Well, thank you, my friend. Well, I do want, like I said, I want to respect your time, but I do want to basically, if you, before you, as we wind down, maybe there's some, because I consider you a somewhat of an expert and sort of savant when it comes to like a whole grimdark scene. Are there any books that you can recommend, whether they're popular or under the radar, etc., that people want to check out if they're into that dark fantasy scene?
There's a book. It was just here, and then when the interview started, I cleared my table, and I don't. Okay, yeah, right here. So this is a book I've been reading, Blood Mage, The Shards of Ethereos. Right. This is a book that I thoroughly enjoyed when I was reading it. I think I read it early last year, maybe 2 years ago, late 2024, like, and everything. And I've been finding like getting an itch to read it again. I've spoken about it once or twice. It's a really, really good book. Highly recommend. It touches on themes of religion, and has a lot of good historical context as well. Right now I'm just about finishing Joe Abercrombie's work, Best Self Cold. I took a big break after I read the first three books, and then now I'm just like getting back into it again. But that's what I've been reading. I want to get into Red Rising. I have like 4 of the books. I don't know if you can see them there. This year I have a lot of plans, and like, exciting year for reading, exciting year for reading more, and getting more as well.
That sounds like great stuff, my friend. Great stuff. Well, before I let you go as well, I would love if you can just tell people where to find you on social media, about your YouTube channel, anywhere else in the space, and just maybe repeat the title of your soon-to-be one day novel, and kind of a little bit about that, if possible.
So it's Epic Tales, EPICTALEZ, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Like I want to tell something to my subscribers. I know I have not been consistent. I know I've not been consistent. Life has been lifing, but Epic Tales is still one of the most important things to me, and I am still there. I know every time this is the message, but every time I release something, I always try to make sure it's worth your time. Um, I want to promise I'll be more consistent, but life keeps lifing for me. But like yeah, like for those that watch the channel consistently, really, really appreciate it. And I'll be dropping stuff soon. So just yeah, just wait for it. And the name of my book, Cradle of Chaos. Whew, it's like I'm both excited and scared to talk about it. But like yes, it's going to be everything that I love. And if you've been watching Epic Tales and you enjoy the content over there, you'll probably enjoy Cradle of Chaos. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I cannot wait. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for the Grail of Chaos. I cannot wait, bro. I cannot wait to see what you put down with that. Because like I said, you're so talented. So I'm so excited for that. And hey, if you have not subscribed to Epic Tales, what are you doing? It is fabulous. Check it out, especially if you're a Grimdark aficionado, a Grimdark fan. You are missing out if you're not checking out Epic's content. It is absolutely spectacular, really insightful, just absolutely great stuff. So he's one of the best out there. I watch everything that he puts out. So please subscribe to Epic. Just awesome. Follow him on Instagram. Great stuff. So quickly, the self-same shameless self-promo stuff on PL Stewart. Everything on social media is at PL Stewart Writes. The website is PLStewart.com. The books are the John King Saga 7-book series, 5 books out. The most recent book, A Pack of Wolves, came out last year. Book 6, A Black Dragon on Red, is coming in the next few months, so we'll give you some more details soon.
If you've been reading the books, like even the name of this title, The Black Dragon on Red, is such a teaser. It's such a teaser. I think you've been talking about the Black Dragon on Red since like the first book. So yeah, like I'm super, super excited. Super, if you're a fan of Grimdark, if you're a fan of moral nuance is what I'll call it. Yeah, like a Drown Kingdom saga is something you absolutely enjoy. And especially I feel like if you're kind of like trying to dip your toes into Grimdark, but then you don't want something that's too much. You just want to dip your toes, see if you can vibe with the themes and like get a little bit of a taste, before you go in the deep end. A Drown Kingdom saga again is a very, very good place to start.
Thank you so much, my friend. And quickly, for those of you, great anthology, Shapers of Worlds, Volume 5. My short story, Forest Dark, in there. I believe Epic's read it. It's a good primer, potentially, for Book 6, A Black Dragon Red. So I feel enjoy the links, the correlation between the two. You can read it after, too, the short story, but I think if you read it before, I think it's going to give you some real nice sneak peeks into what's going on. So that's Shapers World anthology, some brilliant authors in there. And my short story, kind of smack down in the middle, is Forest Dark, my first foray into fantasy horror. So check that out. I think I sent you an arc of that too, Epic. I think
yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, you checked that out, right? So
yes.
Yeah. So Epic knows what I'm talking about. So and finally the YouTube channel, the Drown King Saga, where I do 6 elementals. I get to interview marvelous people such as Epic, and also with my brilliant partner from Between the Pages, fantastic booktuber. Check out her channel, where we're under the page chewing umbrella, and we do the page chewing interview series. And finally, I'm an assistant editor with Before We Go blog. Shout out to the awesome Beth Tabler and the Before We Go blog crew. And now I am so privileged to be a member of the interview team on Grimdark Magazine.
Oh, you're part of that now.
Yes, I'm part of Grimdark Magazine. I've really gone over to the dark side now. So So
Right.
check out the recent issue of Grimdark magazine. Some brilliant stories and articles and features in there. So yeah, and I was humbled with the awesome Beth Tabler, who's also an editor at Grimdark. We interviewed the fantastic Peter Jelly Clark, who is a brilliant author, academic, and especially when it comes to his fan horror stuff is just chef's kiss. You read Ring Shout Epic?
Not yet. Not
Oh,
yet. Not
you
yet.
must read. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's me. And so once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Epic, for joining us. So awesome to chat to you, my friend. And so generous for your time. And thank you, the wonderful Alicia from Birdie and Books for coming by. Another amazing book tour. Check out her channel. Subscribe, like to Epic TALEZ. Like, hey man, these are awesome people whose content really can change your booktube experience. So people like Epic and Alicia, subscribe. You know, if you're instead of doom scrolling, man, go watch some of their stuff, man. It's time well spent. Believe me, it's time spent. So Epic and I are signing off, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.